It is a legitimately cold day in Central Florida. I'm not talking about like, ooh, it's 70 and I'm freezing. It's in the 40s. And I think that's a perfect time to talk about what's going on in the real estate market as we leave 2020 and we head into the winter of 2021. We have a lot of questions. There's been a lot of activity in the market. It's been really strong seller's market. And let's talk about what that means and what's going on and what we can expect to see next year. And stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to give you an inside look as to what Thanksgiving is like at my house, provided for us by my kids. Should you wait to buy and snatch up a great deal when the market crashes? Should you sell? And if so, where will you go? Is there even a crash ahead? If you're following the market in Central Florida, and chances are if you're on my channel, that's exactly what you're doing, you've probably heard the term low inventory. Yet I just looked at the MLS and there are literally thousands of properties for sale in Orlando. So what's the deal with the low inventory? Well, when we talk in terms of low inventory, there's a great way to understand what that means by looking at months worth of inventory. So let's take a look at that. To do that, we take the number of homes that are currently for sale at the end of a month and divide it by the number of buyers who bought in the previous month, the number of closings. The resulting number tells you how many months worth of inventory there is in the market. In Orlando right now, that number is about 1.5. That means if no new homes came on the market, the current inventory would sell out in about 1.5 months. So let's compare that to some other cities so you get a better idea of what exactly that means. Now, I don't have access to all these MLSs, so I'm just going off of what I could find online. In New York City, for example, there's about 6 months of inventory. In Nevada, there's a 3-month supply. Chicago has about 5 months. And in the slowest markets around the nation, you would expect to find a year's worth of inventory or even more. Economists say that a well-balanced inventory is about 5 to 6 months worth of houses. That's good for both buyers and sellers. Neither one has a strong advantage. So hopefully you can see that 1.5 months is really low inventory. Some additional facts. The median sales price in Orlando for a single-family home over the past 90 days was $318,000, and it was on the market for about 10 days. Just a year ago, the median sales price for a single-family home in Orlando was $278,000, and it was on the market for 22 days. So what are you supposed to do if you're trying to buy a home under the, say, $500,000 range? Most of my buyers are finding it just a bit difficult to get something under contract right now. There's a lot of competition in the market. Inventory is down nearly a quarter over last year, but pending home sales are up a quarter. My buyers barely have time to think about a house, make a decision to make an offer, and it's already gone to some other buyer. So what do you do when you're forced to buy in a market that isn't totally in your favor? Well, you can wait and hope it gets better. For me personally, I was convinced that around election time, things were going to slow down. Because historically, that's what happens around a major U.S. election. People get scared. Sellers decide to stay in their house a little bit longer to see what happens, and buyers put off buying. Well, this year, I did feel it. Maybe the week of the election, it was a little bit slower, and then it picked right back up again. Of course, COVID-19. When quarantine first started, everything really dropped to a snail's pace. Sellers pulled their homes off the market. They were afraid to let people in, rightfully so. And buyers' agents didn't necessarily want to run the risk of showing houses. Sellers were commonly leaving out things like hand sanitizer, disposable foot coverings, gloves, and face masks at the front door. But a lot of houses just went off the market completely. That lasted for a little while, but then slowly everything kind of came back to normal again. Now more than anything else, I see buyers from out of state flocking to Florida. You know, a lot of people are working from home and they want to be able to take advantage of the beautiful weather here. People want to take advantage of the lower taxes in Florida. And so we're getting a lot of out-of-state buyers right now. With interest rates still low and no sign of them going up, demand remains high. As you may know, not everything is all sunshine here. Disney recently announced that it's going to lay off about 11,000 employees. Universal also extended the furlough of over 5,000 employees. For another 6 months, they'll be off work. And SeaWorld also laid off about 2,000 people recently. Orlando is a city based on tourism, and when tourism is down, things suffer. It's affecting everybody from food service employees to airline employees, well, just anybody that's dealing with tourists on a regular basis, or travel. So the question I get asked more than anything else right now is the market going to crash? Should I wait to buy? Will I be able to get a great bargain if I just wait? Of course, I don't know who all the people are who've been laid off, but many of them will be in the service industry. They might be younger people who haven't yet purchased a home. A lot of them may be tenants, renters, and a lot of people who are laid off will have purchased their home 5 to 10 years ago. That means they have a lot of equity in their home because prices on houses dropped to an all-time low, $50 a square foot, $100 a square foot. It was a realistic price for a home back then. So hopefully they have a lot of equity to work with. Everyone is trying to compare the market to 2008 in hopes of trying to figure out if they can soon capitalize on what may be happening. In 2008, of course, we had a different difficulty because people couldn't sell their homes because they'd paid top dollar in 2005, found themselves upside down, and then either had to get foreclosed on or go through a short sale. Luckily, right now, an awful lot of people in Central Florida who own houses are really in a good position. They won't be upside down if they have to sell. Let's talk about mortgage forbearance. Now, I don't know how many people in Central Florida took advantage of mortgage forbearance when they were out of work or how that's going to play out in the housing market. It will, of course, have its own consequences as those months and months of skipped mortgage become due. Now, I have heard anecdotally of people who skipped a step in mortgage forbearance and didn't actually contact their lender to let them know that they were going to be taking advantage of this program and simply stop paying their mortgage. Now, that is not a good idea, so we'll see how many people didn't understand or didn't take that step to inform their lender that they needed help and just stop paying their loan. Of course, I'm also keeping in mind that banks will want to foreclose on houses that have equity in them over the ones that are completely upside down. Of course, it costs banks a lot of money to foreclose on a house. It is much more cost effective for them to keep the homeowner in the home, but if they have to foreclose, they will be looking for the ones certainly that have equity. In the meantime, my best advice to you if you have to move to the Orlando area is just to try to keep an open mind. The Fed is keeping the interest rates low. I've even heard that they may drop further to around 2%, so demand is going to continue. But at least you don't have to worry about trying to buy a home quickly because you're afraid that interest rates are going to rise soon. My best advice would be not to get too emotionally attached to any one house. Maybe expand your search, expand your criteria. It's not impossible, but it remains tricky and quick moving here in Central Florida. Now, if you have thoughts or comments on the market, if you feel strongly that it's going to crash, or if you have knowledge of something that I don't, I would love it if you would comment below and let me know. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.
So, Krista, how's the real estate market doing?
Well,
Our neighbor sold his house in 3 days. Ain't that right, Joe?
I'll just keep renting until the market crashes again. Mark my words, that's the way to go.
When's the last time you had a closing? Do you need to borrow some money, honey?
oh, thank you, Grandma. No.